Hi everyone. I have Del Galloway here. He is currently the chair of PRSA ICON, which is the huge conference that's put on every year. And he's going to talk to us about that. But first, I would be remiss if I didn't say that he had a day job as well, which is the Senior Vice President of Communications for Wells Fargo. But before I kick it to Del, I just wanted to kind of get the business out of the way, which is that ICON is currently it is scheduled for October 26th through 29th, so it's coming up, and it's going to be a whole full program digitally. And so we're going to talk to Del about what's new with the conference, what people can look for, and how they're going to make all this happen digitally. Thanks, Del.
Absolutely, Amy. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. So yeah, just tell us about the conference and what's new this year, other than the fact that it's digital.
Right. Well, and so we're making history. This is PRSA's first ever virtual international conference. And as you said, October 26th through 29th. For those who are familiar, in the past, PRSA's conferences are usually over a 2.5-day period, from a Sunday to a Tuesday. But we know from others who have gone before us with their virtual conferences that you really can't cram 10 pounds in a 5-pound sack, that you can't expect folks virtually to sit in front of their computers for hours on end. And so this year, for the first time, we will spread our conference over 4 days, Monday the 26th to the Thursday the 29th of October. And the primary content each day will be a 4-hour period from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern. And you can figure out the time zones from that. But that is when we will have, I consider it the main course, the substantial part of the professional development content. A general session speaker, followed by breakout sessions. And then there are extracurricular things that will go on as well. And we can get into that in later in our conversation.
Yeah, and I just want to be clear to people watching that this is like a full conference. Like, I've looked online and it still looks the same as if you were going in person, like a lot of different options. So why don't you just tell us, what are the highlights and the themes that you're seeing this year?
Thank you. And yes, and I'm glad you pointed that out, Amy. It is very much a very real conference, just on a virtual platform. And we're thrilled that we have a theme that really captures and reflects this moment, this inflection point that we as a society, small s, as a country, are currently experiencing. And so our theme is strategic communications, navigating a world disrupted, pandemic, disinformation, and social injustice. And we have a lineup of speakers who are going to give voice to each of those topics. On Monday, we will feature John Meacham, a internationally recognized presidential historian, an author, and someone that we believe is a reasoned and seasoned voice on things going on politically in our country. And then following John, who will speak on Monday from 11 to 12, 11 a.m. to 12:15, an hour and 15 minutes Eastern. And then following John will be 2 breakouts, and folks have the opportunity to participate in whatever breakout makes sense for them. And then on Tuesday, we're really going to take a deep dive into diversity, equity, inclusion, and representation. And we're very happy to feature Carolyn Johnson. She is the CEO of Diversity, Inc., and Carolyn is going to speak to us on DEIR, and then she's going to moderate a panel discussion of distinguished folks in this space. And then again, you'll have 2 breakouts that follow. Wednesday is all about disinformation and our First Amendment. And so we will start the day featuring a disinformation fellow Who knew that there are disinformation fellows?
I didn't.
Right? Nina Yankowicz is a disinformation fellow at the Wilson Center based in DC. It is a global, nonpartisan think tank. And she's going to talk to us about disinformation and things that are going on in our world as we speak, particularly through a political lens, since that's timely. And then people will go into a breakout following Nina. And then we're going to have a bookend speaker, a general session speaker on Wednesday. Her name is Lafa Knott. She is the executive director of the First Amendment Center at the Freedom Forum. And I've had the pleasure of speaking to all of our speakers in preparation. And Lafa is really going to connect the dots between our First Amendment and how it is foundational to the profession and what we practice in public relations. That 4 of the 5 freedoms of the First Amendment, speech, assembly, petition, and press, are very much related to what we practice in public relations. And then on Thursday, we're going to wrap it up on talking about the pandemic and our role as communicators and helping provide factual information so that we can help stakeholders make informed decisions about their lives, right? And our speaker is Laurie Garrett, who is a internationally recognized Pulitzer Prize winning science journalist. So we feel very, very, we're thrilled actually with our lineup of speakers and our theme.
Thank you. I love how you break it down for us too. I mean, it all sounds very important and it's very timely to everything that is going on right now. And I know a lot of PR people have a lot of questions about how to handle this. So I think that sometimes there's just a sense of comfort when PR people can get together and learn from their peers and get either advice or just kind of a pat on the back, like, oh yeah, I was doing it right.
Right.
Sometimes I need that.
I think we all do. I think we need those affirmations. We need to help reduce our anxiety. And we happen to think that now, perhaps unlike any other time, communications folks do need to come together because the issues that are facing us as a country, as society, are very much in our wheelhouse, and the role that we play in helping folks navigate a world disrupted. We think it's an opportunity for people to commiserate, to connect, to be inspired, and to learn and to listen.
Yeah, well, thank you. And now, can you talk to us about the extracurriculars you mentioned? Is that kind of networking or is that something else?
That's right. Well, we have heard loudly and clearly from members that networking and social activities are very much a part of ICON. Folks like to go to the conference because perhaps they are going to visit with folks they haven't seen in a year since the last conference. And so we have built in opportunities for that to take place as well. On Monday evening, we are going to have 3 virtual lounges. And one lounge is going to feature a taste of Nashville, which is where we originally were scheduled to convene for our conference. And in that lounge will be a mixologist from Jack Daniel teaching how to make specialty cocktails, etc. PRSA, our student group, will have a lounge, and I understand they're going to do dancing and such. And then a final lounge is going to feature a terrific person who I've had the pleasure to get to know, who is an icon in Nashville. Her name is Alice Randall. She is an author and a music writer, and she is going to host a workshop in her lounge on storytelling through music, because as we know, at our core, we are storytellers, and she's just going to translate that through the lens of music. And then on Tuesday afternoon, we're going to feature our Silver Anvil Awards. In times past, the Silver Anvils are held, I believe, late spring, early summer. But because of the pandemic, the people weren't able to convene. So we're going to use our virtual conference to recognize Silver Anvil Award winners. And we think it's a terrific opportunity because so often most folks don't attend the Silver Anvils, which take place in Manhattan. And now, because it's virtual, they'll be able to sit in and hear about the awards and perhaps realize, wait a minute, my work's as good as that. I want to enter in the future. And hopefully, as we continue our conversation, we'll talk about our virtual platform and other capabilities that it has.
Well, yeah, I'm just curious how you're doing all this virtually, because again, I looked at the speaker lineup. I don't even know how many speakers you have. I don't know if you know. It's a lot.
Yeah, well, we have 5 what I refer to as featured speakers, general session speakers, right? The ones that I mentioned a moment ago. And then we have 50 plus professional development breakout sessions on a variety of topics that all reflect very important skill sets that we all need to have.
Yeah, so it's like you're in a breakout session. It's not like you only have one place to go. You have multiple choices within that breakout session.
You do, and it's interesting you bring that up, Amy, because I know I've been at conferences in the past, and I've taken a look at the schedule, and I say, oh, well, I need to attend that breakout, and then I get in there, I get seated, perhaps midway down the aisle, and I realize about 10 minutes in, ruh-roh, this isn't quite what I thought it was going to be, but I don't want to be disruptive, and I have to, and so I just said, well, in a virtual environment, you go into a breakout, and if it's just not speaking to you, boom, you just go visit another one. And you could do hit and runs like that throughout the breakout sessions if you would like.
That's kind of good to remember. So yeah, how are you organizing all of this, and what was it that you wanted to talk about in terms of the virtual?
And that is, it's a fascinating thing. I've learned a great deal about virtual platforms since all of this went down. I, like you and everyone else, entered the new year full of hopes and dreams and challenges. And I was personally, as conference chair, looking forward to Nashville. And then about March, April, the realization hit, even in October, we may not be able to convene, right? And so we had to quickly go in search of other resources. And virtual businesses that are offering virtual platforms for conferences and other meetings are springing up like weeds. And we looked at a number of them, some that were well out of our price range, but we found one that is a perfect fit for PRSA. The name of the company and the platform is 6 Connex, CONNEX. And it is, folks, by the time your program airs, and in fact, they were distributed just last week, members have received emails that allow you to take a test drive of what the platform will be like, because we anticipate a number of challenges to folks registering for a virtual conference. One being the technology. They may be like me and be a techno peasant and think, that's just too much. Or another barrier could be, well, I've been on Zooms or live meetings all day. I just can't. And this is not a Zoom. This is a very interactive sort of platform. And if you're in there and let's say you have folks that you've not seen in a year and you want to talk and get together, there are lounges and places you can go. You can chat with one another and say, hey, let's meet in this lounge at 11:30 or 1 o'clock and hang out and talk, and maybe we'll miss a breakout or we'll participate in a partial breakout, but we want to get together to talk about other stuff. You're going to have that flexibility.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, that is important. Those side conversations, like when you're crossing the hall, you never know what's going to happen.
And so I encourage folks, look for an email from PRSA about the virtual test drive.
Okay. And so how can people get tickets?
Well, they can simply go to the PRSA website and register. But we have a fairly aggressive marketing campaign going on right now, both on social and through email. And we are blowing it up. We're sending out probably twice a week now, emails about ICON, featuring our speakers. We have our speakers, our featured speakers are doing promotional videos and saying, hey, PRSA, looking forward to hanging out with you at the end of October. We're providing information about the virtual platform, et cetera. So I encourage you to look particularly for that email about the test drive, because I think that is going to be one of the bigger barriers for folks. And when our hope is that when they experience it, they'll say, wow, I want to go ahead and register for this conference. So the registration is available through email, or you can just visit the PRSA website.
Okay, and we'll include a link on our website to the show notes.
Oh, thank you.
And so I really want to mention that the speakers that you select are really good. So for instance, last year you had Bob Woodward keynoting. Now, Bob Woodward is currently all over the news.
Boom.
He wrote Fear and Rage. And so if people are interested in looking that up, I mean, that's just fascinating that you had that high level of a speaker last year. And so it's interesting to see what you have this year, and you never know, where these people are going to go too.
That's right. I'll tell you, someone with whom I'm favorably impressed with all of our speakers, but two that stick out, with whom I've spent more time. Nina Yankowicz, the disinformation fellow from the Wilson Center. I actually had the pleasure of having dinner with her last week. Incredibly smart and relatively young, from my perspective. And so I think that this is a name that we are going to see going places. The other is Carolyn Johnson, the CEO of Diversity Inc. I had not known Carolyn until this spring, and now we're connected at the hip. She is going to be fresh. She's going to challenge us. And as we talk about the role of communicators in helping to advance diversity, equity, inclusion, and representation.
So kind of possibly a silly question or something I should know about this, but in terms of DEI, what is the representation part? Is that on our end as communicators to represent through DEI, or is that
It can be included and interpreted multiple ways, but the way I think about it is, so I am a man of a certain age, I'm white, I am gay, and so I think when decisions are being made, you want representation, you want inclusion of multiple points of view, right? And so that's what we mean by representation. If someone can't see themselves in an organization, let's say I'm Latino and it's an all, Asian or white employee group, then I don't see the opportunities for growth, et cetera. I don't see myself represented in that organization.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, and there's always something new to learn about. You might think, especially with DEI. I mean, there's so much more to it. And we, as either internal communicators or external communicators, need to be on top of that. So is there anything that I didn't ask you that you'd like to say about the conference or anything else?
No, I think we've covered it. I just, the content is going to be so rich, and you're talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, and representation when we consider what is going on in our world, right? And that our world is only going to continue to diversify, that we need to better understand how do we educate ourselves, become better informed, so that we can help others be better informed. And certainly the pandemic, and having information to help people make informed decisions about their lives. We think we have a lineup that's going to be applicable takeaways that you can put into practice immediately.
Well, and not only that, this, when you're talking about the First Amendment and everything that goes around that, that's stuff that right now, I can't even wrap my head around. Like, those are the things that really could challenge not only us as communicators or people in the media, but just, our country. So this stuff is huge. And so I'm glad that you mentioned that as well.
Well, my take on at any conference of the featured general session speakers is that they need to be offering big ideas, things that we wrap our heads around aspirationally. Our breakouts then need to be able to complement that and do a deeper dive into how you execute against it. So I think we've found that sweet spot of big picture aspirational stuff and the hands-on things through our PD offering.
Yeah, I'm excited. So the last thing I'll add is just a shout out to our guest, which is your dog, Gustav, who is very bored and asleep. And what is he? He's a French bulldog?
No, that is, thank you. So that is Gustavo.
Gustavo. Okay, I'm sorry.
Gustavo. He is a 7.5-year-old British bulldog, and his two favorite things are sleeping and eating.
Well, mine too.
Right? He is a happy dog. It's funny. I didn't realize he was there until you had mentioned it earlier. So.
Yeah, and you wanted to move him, and I said, no, you can't.
He's a star.
Well, thank you so much. It's so fun to connect. I think you're in New York, and I'm all the way over in Oregon, but we can use virtual tools as you're doing with the conference to connect.
That's right. That's right. Hey, Amy, thank you. It's a pleasure. And I encourage everyone, be at PRSA ICON 2020 and be there no matter where you are in the world, because you can.